Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We've got some interesting sales numbers for consoles. We have Xbox Cloud Gaming coming to another system, and some DLC has been announced for Sonic Frontiers before the game releases. We have those topics and more to cover, but before we get started, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, and we can keep you up to date with gaming news. Now let's get started. First, we have this announcement from Oculus.com. During Connect, Microsoft CEO announced that Xbox Cloud Gaming is coming to MetaQuest Store. And then they talk about how this will work. Xbox Cloud Gaming enables you to stream hundreds of high-quality games to a range of devices, and that will include MetaQuest 2 in the future. When Xbox Cloud Gaming launches on the MetaQuest Store, you'll be able to hook up an Xbox controller to your headset and play console games from the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Library on a massive 2D screen, like having a private movie theater available at all times. No date yet, but we hope to share more on this as soon as possible. So it sounds like this is not going to be VR games through cloud. It's just going to be the games that are already there on a 2D screen in sort of a theater type atmosphere. So while I don't think this will drive people to go out and buy a MetaQuest 2, it very well could drive people to go ahead and subscribe to Game Pass who already have a MetaQuest 2. So I think Meta is probably looking at Game Pass and thinking this is not really competing with our product, so why not go ahead and allow this? Now Meta also had some other announcements at Connect. They announced a Quest Pro, which is supposed to be a work device and not for gaming. I think I even saw something about Teams and Office being on the platform. And they also noted that there's still a ton of content and updates still planned for the MetaQuest 2, while also confirming that the Quest Pro would be backward compatible with Quest 2 apps and games. Now, since this Quest Pro is going to be targeting the business end, it is going to be available for pre-order for $1,500 and is set to launch October 25th. So quite pricey, but if you're a business, that's not really that expensive. For normal gamers, this might be kind of out of your price range because I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of this over top of the regular MetaQuest 2. But let me know in the comments if you think the Quest Pro would be worth the increased price. Next, we got a little bit of an insight on console sales, and this is coming from David Gibson, who is a senior analyst at MST Financial, and he studied import documentation to determine these numbers. And we have the first tweet here: lots of reports of improved PS5 supply in the last few months, but no data until now. Import data into the US confirms that Sony Interactive shipments in September were 400 plus year on year. And you can see the chart here below, and these numbers are based on weight, so it should be pretty accurate. And then he goes into the numbers for Xbox. That's US imports to be clear. So how is it for Xbox? Data requires more interpretation to get the right sources. But based on my estimate, Xbox supply into the US in September plus 89% year on year. And then you can see the graph here and how it's jumped in the last couple of months. And then the final data he had here was Nintendo, not so good it appears, with September down 59% year on year. But company is ramping up production and is using air freight. This data is sea freight, hence may not be as bad as shown. So my take from here is that this data may not be nearly as accurate since he's not counting the air freight. And I'm thinking the Switch numbers will start to go up as we have these new OLED special editions out. And I think the biggest take here is the 400% year-on-year sales of the PlayStation 5. You know, Sony stated that they want to sell 18 million PlayStation 5 consoles worldwide by the end of this coming March. And there have been a noticeable increase in PlayStation 5 supplies. There's even been pictures circulating of PlayStation 5s at Walmart in store. And I know that there's been times that the PS5 has been for sale online for days at a time. So definitely excellent numbers for Sony and pretty good numbers for Xbox, and I guess we'll have to wait to see what Nintendo says their numbers are, considering air freight isn't included in this data. And since we're on the topic of the Switch, it did get a firmware update, and let's take a look here at the official release notes, and this is going to be version 15.0.0, which I would expect big things for an integer release. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. So according to the notes here, the location of the Bluetooth audio menu within the system settings has moved. Screenshots can be taken using the capture button while in the Nintendo Switch Online application found on the Nintendo Switch home menu, and then they add that video capture is not supported, and then your general system stability. And of course we have Oatmeal Dome on Twitter giving us a little more detail on things that weren't listed in these release notes. As you can see here from this tweet, handling for Ethernet adapters was moved to its own dedicated OS module. The Pro Controller Bluetooth firmware was updated, various error messages were added and changed, a pop-up was added for attempting to exceed the max headphone volume while the limiter is on, bad words for mainland China were updated, the time zone database was updated to the latest from ICANN, and text related to Australia and New Zealand privacy laws were added. So even though this is an integer release, there doesn't seem to be much of a note here, so at the very least I guess you get to update that Pro Controller. And Nintendo also announced the release date for some of those Amiibos. We have the tweet here. 3 fresh new Amiibos arrive on November 11th. Tap them on a compatible Nintendo Switch controller and they'll unlock special in-game gear for Splatoon 3. And these were all announced a while back, and we still don't know what that unnamed Amiibo was in that child product safety list, so I'm still hoping we'll get an announcement for that sometime in the next week or two. And next we have some DLC announcement, and this is for Sonic Frontiers. The tweet here says, time to get cooking, Monster Hunter DLC is coming to Sonic Frontiers November 14th at 5 p.m. Pacific for free. Now, Sonic Frontiers comes out on Tuesday, November 8th, so less than a week later, we're going to get some DLC. And the Japanese Sega Twitter account actually tweeted out some screenshots, and you can see them here where you've got this Monster Hunter sort of costume. And I think most everybody's asking what Sonic's cooking here. And if you remember last year, we saw some free Sonic DLC added to Monster Hunter Rise, so this appears to be an agreement between Sega and Capcom. But I guess if you're tired of playing Sonic Frontiers after a week, you can give this DLC a try. And finally, an update to our story yesterday. We actually have a statement from Microsoft about what that device was on Phil Spencer's shelf. And this was a response to Eurogamer. It says the device on Phil's shelf was an old prototype of Keystone. Earlier this year, we announced that we made the decision to pivot away from the current iteration of Keystone and are taking our learnings to refocus our efforts on a new approach that will allow us to deliver Xbox Cloud Gaming to more players around the world in the future. We have nothing more to share today. So for a little backstory, the Keystone name appeared in data mines earlier this year. Then Microsoft eventually confirmed that this is the internal name of a dedicated Xbox game streaming device, only later to say that it was going to pivot away from the current iteration of the Keystone device. Now, we haven't gotten any more statements as to what that pivot may be, but I'll point you back to our first article that the Xbox Cloud Gaming app is coming to MetaQuest 2. And we've also seen Xbox Cloud Gaming get announced for new Samsung TVs. So I have to wonder if that might be their focus, is just getting the app on other devices that are already out there. And that's all we have for today. Did anything we cover catch your attention? Were you surprised to see the PS5 sales were up 400% year over year? And do you think Microsoft's strategy with Xbox Cloud Gaming is just to get the app on as many devices as possible? That strategy seemed to work pretty well for Netflix, as you pretty much had Netflix on any device you could find, which meant more people would just go ahead and sign up for it. So drop a comment about those topics or anything else we covered today. I want to thank you for watching, and be good.